All right, so before I start, this is a used machine. You can see the soapy water in my mix. I'm just gonna take a microfiber on the inside of this machine and I'm gonna wipe down the window, the surround. I wanna make sure that this is as clean as possible. Contaminants will drop out of the gaskets or the surround and then get into your tint job. So we just wanna make sure this is wiped down. This is a very crucial part. So right now what we're gonna work on is the install portion of this quarter window and then this quarter window. They are set for the sides of the machine. So you want to make sure that the piece of film is correct. So I'm going to grab this quarter window. So the way it looks like this. Now you can tell that this is the right side because there's the adhesive side of the tint. You don't want to touch that. So that's the adhesive side of the tint. This clear part's called the liner, the other part's called the tint. So when you peeled the sticky side, it would stick there. So what I'm gonna do is stick this to the glass, use this as my peel board, and then I'm gonna use my pink tool that came with the kit to anchor this to the glass. So now this is anchored, the liner portion is towards me, and I could peel this and that's the sticky side of the tint. So what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna take one of the single edge razor blades you got. I'm gonna mist soapy water in here. And then I'm going to razor blade and I'm getting my fingertips and the razor blade kind of behind this gasket, ensuring that that gasket's 100% clean. Dirt will rinse out of that gasket into your tint job. So I'm just gonna razor blade this twice to make sure that I got it clean. Again, I'm gonna mist a little more soapy water on here. And I'm gonna get my razor blade behind there and I'm just gonna scrape every ounce of this window. So I'm happy with how that's scraped. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this install tool and I'm gonna mist soapy water up here and I'm gonna take my, take a glass towel. I'm gonna wipe off my blade. I'm gonna actually stick that behind the gasket. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to clean out any debris that could be back there. And then I'm gonna use my pink card, try to get behind that gasket. Okay, that worked a lot better. This gasket is stiff on this machine. What you'll notice with Can-Am machines is the build quality varies from machine to machine. Some machines are a lot tighter gaskets, some are more loose. So I'm gonna mist it again. Cleanliness is the name of the game. So I'm gonna mist this. So now I'm gonna do what's called a dry install on this. So now that I've got the glass to the point that I feel happy that it's clean, I'm gonna take my spray bottle, I'm gonna mist, and I'm gonna spray this whole tint down. I'm gonna grab it from the bottom right here, not touching too much of the film. I'm gonna rest it on my hand, and I'm going to work this film in. So I don't want the film to touch anything else but the glass it's going on. So what I did is I fished it behind this gasket at the front of my hand, and I've kind of worked it down. I wanna stab this in kind of last, and I wanna get this position just right. Now the soapy water is really helping me move this piece around. So what we wanna do is I got that fish behind the gasket. It was that easy. If you have to, you can use your gasket tool to open this gasket up to allow the film to be moved around. But on this particular piece, we did not have to. The tint fits really well. So I'm gonna squeegee this out, and now that there's no light gaps, I'm gonna completely squeegee out all of this soapy water. So you just wanna make sure that your pattern's not gonna shift while you're doing this install. The soapy water will cause the pattern to shift sometimes. Too much soap will do that. So I'm just gonna squeegee all of this out, and then I'm gonna wipe down the door panel, and that's an install of this triangle window on this Can-Am Defender. So we'll move on to the back quarter window on this passenger door. We'll show you how to do that. All right, so we're gonna tint this quarter window. Again, I just wanna make sure that this is clean, so I'm gonna take a microfiber. I'm gonna wipe all the edges. I'm using my fingertip right here to clean this gasket out. Got my single edge razor blade from the install kit. I'm gonna mist some soapy water onto the glass. I'm gonna take my razor, I'm gonna stick it underneath the gasket, behind this gasket. I'm gonna razor all this out. Again, I'm behind the gasket, and I'm just gonna razor blade all this down. I don't hear any grit on the glass, so that's good. I'm gonna mist it again. and I'm going to razor blade it a second time. So we're gonna razor blade all this down. Cool, I got that down. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my pink install tool and I'm gonna take a glass towel and I'm gonna, again, wet this. I'm starting top to bottom because I want that water to pull any dirt downwards. I'm gonna take my pink tool, I'm gonna shove it underneath the gasket up here, and that's gonna ensure that I get any dirt out of there. And I'm just gonna squeegee all of this glass down. So I'm gonna squeegee this down, and I'm happy with that. I'm gonna do that again. Again, creating a little bit of a rinse effect here. Squeegee behind the gasket on this front side. Wipe each time. Squeegee, wipe, squeegee, wipe. All right, and now what I'm gonna do is, again, I'm gonna do this as a dry install. I'm gonna peel my liner, throw that on the ground because we don't need it anymore. I'm gonna wet the film. And again, I'm gonna carry this piece of film without touching too much. I actually wanna stick my front side first, so I don't wanna touch anything but the glass. So we're gonna stick that in there. I'm gonna get that, so what I did first is I slid forward into this pillar. And this is where your gasket tool is really gonna come in handy. So you're gonna use your yellow gasket tool. I'm up here. I'm gonna open the gasket to allow my film to slide in. I shifted my film up, and now what I'm gonna do is take my gasket tool, stick it down here, and I'm gonna get my film to fish below this gasket. Perfect. Now that my film's laid perfectly flat, I can shift it around in the gasket. My film's caught right here, so I'm just gonna open up the gasket, allowing the film in. And now I got no light gaps. I'm happy with where my film sits. I'm gonna take my pink install tool. Again, I'm gonna lightly squeegee this out. And after I get this all squeegeed out, I'm just gonna give this a mist. That's gonna give it some lubrication for the squeegee to glide across the surface. And I'm just gonna glide all of that across. I can come back with my other install tool. Sometimes you are gonna need to open up this gasket and get your tool behind there and squeegee it out. I can get most of this with the pink squeegee. So that is the quarter window install. So I'm just gonna do this roll-up window, but I'm gonna make sure that this fits. There's a common error that happens. People get it on the wrong side of the machine. So I just wanna make sure that this liner side, so there's the sticky side of the film, we don't wanna touch that. The clear part's facing towards me. So this fits. If it was oriented wrong, you'd have a gap here or a gap here. There's another video on our YouTube channel. Feel free to watch that. So I'm gonna actually just take this piece of tint. I'm gonna set it off to the side for the time being. We're gonna open up the door and we're gonna show the prep of the glass. And then we're gonna show you, we have a peel board. This is a peel board, but we're gonna teach you how to not use a peel board on your machine. So again, cleanliness is the key. So we're just gonna wipe down this area again, even though we wiped it down twice already. Cleanliness is key. So the gasket tool that came in your install kit, whether you got the master or whether you got the 3 tools, is gonna come in handy now. On these Can-Am machines, these gaskets can be very tight. So what I like to do is I like to mist some soapy water prior to cleaning it. And that just helps loosen up and get some soapy water down into the gaskets, which is gonna make your install a lot easier. So I'm just gonna spray all this down. I'm gonna mist this bottom part of my window. I'm gonna grab a stainless steel razor blade again that came with the kit. And I'm just gonna razor blade the bottom portion of my glass. Again, I'm just getting my razor blade behind there. I wanna razor blade every last inch of this glass. And then I'm gonna mist again and do it twice. I just wanna make sure the cleanliness of this install looks good. Cleaning is everything. It's like paint work. Before you paint the car, half of the work or 3/4 of the work is all in prep. So I'm gonna actually, after this step, I've razor bladed the bottom part of my glass. I'm going to roll down the window. I wanna be rolled down about that far. So I wanna mist this top edge, take a glass towel and wipe. There's dirt that likes to sit on the top edge of this glass because it's crowned. I wanna wipe that off. After that, I'm gonna mist my glass again and I'm gonna razor blade the top 2/3 of my glass. If the machine's a little more used, I would maybe even razor blade that 3 times. I think this is a low hour machine, so it's not very dirty, but I'm gonna do it twice just to ensure. So at this point, where you got it razor blade twice, the next step is gonna be take our 2 install tools and we're gonna squeegee off the glass, ensuring that nothing is on there. And then we're gonna place our film on the outside of the machine, and we're gonna show you how to use the machine to be a peel board. So I'm gonna take my glass towel, I'm gonna mist the window, and then I'm gonna take my install tool, I'm gonna wipe off the edge, and then I wanna get behind here. So you can see this install tool really reaches behind the gasket. That's gonna ensure that there's no dirt, debris trapped behind that gasket. I would squeegee this off twice. So we got it all squeegeed off. I pushed all the dirt down to the bottom. What I'm gonna do in between my squeegees is I'm actually gonna wet the outside of this glass. And that's going to be where I place my film liner side towards me. So I'm gonna put a little bit of it on the back quarter window and the bulk of it on the front. And I'm just gonna take I normally use your pink install tool. I just wanna tack this down to the glass a little bit, so that way when I peel my liner, the tint stays to the glass, the liner comes off. So I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna squeegee off my glass one more time. So, boom, I'm gonna squeegee all this dirt down. And that's ensuring that there's no debris left on there, no hair, no sand, no debris. So now I'm ready to do my install. So I'm gonna mist soapy water on here, creating again a rinse effect, rinsing any dirt down towards the bottom. I'm gonna go out to the outside. I'm gonna peel my liner about halfway or 3/4 way, and I'm gonna mist the tint. I don't wanna rinse any dirt from the glass into my film. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab on the edge here. I'm gonna grab my film, I'm gonna palm it on the back side, and I'm just gonna carry it. So I'm not touching anything but the glass. So now I'm gonna get my hands back behind here, and I'm going to set it on the glass. The soapy water is gonna help me be able to position this film where it needs to go. So now that this is all positioned, I can slide it so my top edge fits good, and my liner is still on the bottom edge. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give my outside film a mist, and I'm gonna anchor this top edge down, being careful that the pattern doesn't shift. See how I can shift that pattern? You wanna make sure that you're straight, the film's not crooked, and that this is gonna be anchored down. So I wanna anchor all this down to where my liner is left. So you can see, I'll show you here in a second, you can see that this part of the film still has its liner on. So what we're gonna do is let that hang, and we're gonna roll up the window. So now that the window is rolled up, we're gonna take and lift this, and we wanna make sure that there's no contaminants here. So I'm gonna create a tidal wave of soapy water. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel my liner down and away, throw that on the ground because it doesn't matter. And I'm gonna lift my film up, and I'm actually gonna wet my film too, because otherwise my film's dry and it's gonna make the install a little harder. So then this is where the gasket tool is really gonna shine. So I got my film to lay kind of flat. It wants to go behind the gasket right in this area. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shove my gasket tool behind the gasket, and I'm gonna fish my film down there. And the film is gonna go below the gasket enough that it's not gonna peel. So there you go. That's fish behind there. I'm just using my hand to smooth it all out. I'm gonna take my pink install tool. I still got my gasket tool in there. I'm opening up the gasket, allowing the tool to open the gasket, and then using the other squeegee to simply push the soapy water past the gasket. And I just kind of want to angle this out, getting all the soapy water. Now you want to do a mist on the glass, and then you want to just squeegee this out hard. Just wipe off your blade every couple passes, making sure that you didn't pick up a piece of dirt off of here, and it's going to scratch your film. It'd be a really bad way to end a perfect install. So that is how you do it. After that, you wipe down your door panel, get all the water runs off. It's just a little Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo, nothing that's gonna hurt anybody. So then what you're gonna do is just, you wanna make sure that these edges are locked in. So I'm just gonna run my card behind here. I would maybe mist that with a little bit of soapy water so that way your Squeegee runs across the surface. Squeegee all this off, wipe your windows down. And that's an install of a passenger front window on a Can-Am Defender.